How's everyone doing? Peace and blessings to the hearers and doers of the Lord's word. This is the awakening. I am Super Solican. Appearances. Judging people off of appearances. I want to really get into this message and this topic here about judging people off appearance. Like, should we care so much about when we meet people? Should we care so much about their appearance as far as how we treat them? We definitely shouldn't let appearance make us treat a person a certain way. What I mean by that is we shouldn't, as Christians, we shouldn't judge people off their appearance. We shouldn't judge differently between a person who is wearing designer clothes and a person who's wearing some dirty, torn up t-shirts or sneakers or something like that. We shouldn't treat the other person better because they're in designer clothes and they got more money, or they appear to have more money or resources or something like that. That's the problem. See, and that's Christian people. That's them falling victim to the mentality of judging people like how the world judges people. That's how the world looks at people. Like, if you go anywhere that's secular in the world and you get one person and you dress him up, you could get the same person. You get the same person. You can dress him up as a in designer clothes, all Fendi, and you dress him up in Fendi bag, Fendi hat, Fendi this, and then let him try to go get into a business or something. People will treat him, roll out the red carpet for him. People will be smiling at him, treating him good. You get the same guy and you dress him up like a homeless man. Some tattered clothes. It might not be so clean. Some sneakers that's a little dirty. Jeans, they just be some regular jeans. And let him be unkept or something like that. His hair be a little unkept. And let him go, that same guy, go into that same business. They'll treat him totally different. Now look, again, as I said, that is something people are listening to me saying that right now, and they'll be like, well, that's how we look at things. We judge you from appearance. That's how human beings do. Yeah, that's human nature. And that's what I'm saying, but that's not of God. Do you understand? That's something that humans have developed in doing. That's not of Christians. That's not something we should be doing. That's not how we should judge. Because when we find Christ, we become a new creature. God makes us new. So we don't even think like the world. And I pray to God that, the more and more as he renews his spirit within me, that I totally fall away, that I never, ever, ever judge that way. Do you understand? Not for 1 second, not for 1 millisecond, not that I don't even think like that. You understand? We shouldn't think that way. Not as believers, man. You should not be looking at people and judging Christians. And judging their character and things like that, because it don't have nothing to do with that. Now, you could look at a person who might not even they might not even have a place to stay. They may be homeless, but you don't know where they come from. You don't know where they're going. And the person who homeless, they could be giving some good advice because they've been through it. But I've seen this, that because I seen that a homeless elder or a man who may not look like, he may not even be homeless, but he may not look like he got a lot of money. That man could be trying to give advice to a youth, to a person who's a lot younger than them. You understand? And a younger person will be looking at them and was scoffing, shunning them. You understand? Looking at them, scoffing, shunning them, looking down on them, and not even listening, and just basically closing them, shutting them off from, and not even listening to the information that they provided, even though it's valid information, due to the fact that they don't look like they have a lot of money. And that goes to a lot of people today. You will have women who don't even want to listen to their man, to listen to a righteous man or a man that has their best interest at heart or be the best man for them, because he ain't walking around looking like Lil Boosie, dressed in and a bunch of chains and designer clothes and stupid stuff like that. You have a woman who, like I said, she'll have a man who be doing everything right, but she don't be happy because of appearances. When you go out, they ain't jumping out in a bunch of designer and a bunch of Jordans and a bunch of foolish stuff, just wasting stuff that don't even matter. Man make the clothes, not the other way around. And again, you're gonna have people you don't even know what situations that they're in or where they come from. That don't mean like that you can't learn anything from them. That's a sad thing with Christians, man. And Christians really do have a problem with judging people off of appearances. Like if you go to the same fact that and again, we shouldn't be acting like secular people. The same thing that I described that would happen at a restaurant or a club or something, how that person would judge that man, the same man who could just be in different clothing. This was the same thing would happen in one of these mega churches. And that's sad. You shouldn't have the same mentality and the same judging, the same judgeful mindset as secular people. That is truly not a good thing for Christians. You have to stop that. Like, you really got to, thou hypocrites, you have to stop that. You're acting like the Pharisees. Quit judging people. Like, if a guy comes in, look at Bishop Whitehead. They're judging Bishop Whitehead not off his works, but he's being judged off of his appearance and off of the car he was driving. That started everybody to judging him. Now again, because a man, like, if you wanna use what your money that you have to buy some nice things, I can't judge you on that. Everybody buys some things that they want here and there. It's just because he's a pastor or bishop and you see him out in the public that you think that he's supposed to be dressed in in a bag or dressed in a t-shirt or like how he supposed to be dressed. I don't get that. It's just you judging falsely. The more importantly is, what is the man doing and what is the testimony of people that is around him. He got a whole church. You have false witness. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Just because you want to get some money, or you want to follow along with a bandwagon or a witch hunt. And again, Christian people, when you come, if a person come in and they may not have clean clothes on or something like that, make a way for them to sit down. Don't be trying to close them out so where they can't sit next to you, or but you won't do that to a man or woman. A woman coming in there, she got the Fendi bag, she got the Chanel bag. You will make all the way for her to get in. Don't do that. In the book of John, chapter 7, verse 24, it says, "Do not judge by appearances, but judge with right judgment." We as Christians should not be judging people by their appearance. Do you understand? There should be no discrimination of color, of race, of creed. We ain't worried about that. We only worried about what's on the inside. That's all. And everybody has a spirit. Everybody that's of God, that comes from God, and everybody bleeds red. You understand? We all made up of mind, body, and soul. In the book of the book of 1 Samuel 16, verse 7, "But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. But the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." This is why God chose David. David wouldn't have been a warrior to some people. Like, they would have looked at him and they would have thought to God, like, man, you're tripping. David is not, the type, he's not finna go against Goliath and win no war. He's not finna go against Goliath and survive, for that matter. like, are you kidding me? But God does not look how we see things. So we have to start trying to look as God sees things. That should be our goal. We shouldn't be judging people on their appearance. Like I said, treating the person better because they look like they got some money or something. Stop doing that. It says in the book of James, chapter 2, verse 1 through 5, "My brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. For if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in. If you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, "You sit here in a good place," while you say to the poor man, "You stand over there," or "Sit down at my feet," have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Listen, my beloved brothers, has not God chosen those who are poor in the world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom, which he has promised to those who love him? Do you understand that God he's not looking at the anyone in partiality, because they have, as in actuality, the rich man is in a worse state than the poor man. And that's the truth. But see, we only see with our eye, with the secular eye. And God is saying that that's an evil thought. They said, have you not then made distinctions? You doing that in your own mind. You're the one making the distinction among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts. Like, your thoughts are evil. The only reason you putting that man up or that woman up into these good positions is because you want to get something from them. You understand? You think it's gonna give you some prestige or some gain. Like, it's wicked thoughts. And then you gonna make the person who got the shabby clothing or who may not have a lot of money, you're gonna treat them wrong. You treat them with contempt. You look at them with contempt, and therefore treat them with contempt. You know, it happened everywhere. Go to a supermarket. It's like, it'll happen everywhere. Like, go somewhere, try to pay for something with some change or something like that. They ain't gonna be looking at you, man. Everybody gonna be frustrated and all this, you know. Go somewhere, and like I said, you can even have the money, but let it take you a little bit along. Like, let a person who look like they don't have a lot of money, let it take them a little time to get their wallet out or do something. Man, everybody looking at them with contempt and this person, why you even coming here? Why you even, you know? But a dude who got on some Fendi clothes or some Gucci, man, he could take 3 minutes to pull his money out. Everybody gonna be, you know, having all these good conversations. Oh, hi, you know, yeah, I know it happens to me sometime. You know, and now I get it, man. You know, people, again, us as humans, we make these judgments all the time. But you have to judge righteously. The Lord says, I just read that to you in the book of John. It said, do not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment. And that's in chapter 7, verse 24. In Proverbs chapter 31, verse 9 says, open your mouth and judge righteously. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. See, this is what it is. I just said that the rich man, the Lord Jesus said this himself. Jesus said that it's harder for a rich man to get into, that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. Jesus, when the disciple came, it was a guy who really, it was a rich man who really felt like he believed everything that Jesus said. He really wanted to follow Christ. But the only thing that Jesus told him, the last thing you have to do is give up your riches, give up your money, and follow me. What he didn't understand is that to give up his physical riches he would have gained everything, right? He would have gained everything and more, and sustainable riches on this earth. But see, because he had so much, that's unfathomable to a lot of rich men. Go to somebody like Rick Ross or somebody who has a lot of money and tell them, you know, to give up they money to charity, give up all they have and follow Christ. Not saying that you can't ever gain money again, but saying give up everything you have and follow Jesus. Like, do you think that they're gonna ever, like, that they would ever do that? And I'm saying, if Jesus Christ himself told them to do that, if Jesus came down in a vision and told him to do that, those men would be breaking down. Like, that would break them down. They wouldn't even do it. Like, and you know, that's a sad thing. because it's very hard. That's why, you should be thankful. If I'm thankful to God for the things that he gives me and the things that God doesn't give me. Do you understand? Because some things can be just like a noose around your neck. Some of your assets, a lot of things you get, the more money, more problems. You've heard that. Rich people, you have people who have millions and billions of dollars, but they still are unhappy. Like you have to use that as a shining example. A person who have millions and billions, that's what people shoot for, but they still are miserable and want to kill themselves. That shows you that money is not going to get you happiness. The pursuit of money, chasing it, man, that's not gonna fulfill you at the end of the day. And then if you get it, then you still not fulfilled. That make you feel even worse. Cause now you don't know what you chasing anymore. Like Fat Joe was saying, like it ain't about making your first $1 million. And that's not the hardest part. Hardest part is keeping it. And when you really look at people who amass these large amounts of money, there's usually always a trail of people that they stepped on for that. Because that's just how it is. A trail of dead bodies behind that, indirectly and directly. So we gotta really understand that money and appearances and all that doesn't mean anything to God. And we shouldn't, us as Christians, followers of Christ, shouldn't be judging like the world judges, treating people different off of looks, off of their clothes. And you're always judging somebody, clowning somebody because they ain't got this or they ain't got that. Or like, looks can be deceiving. The same thing with women. Like when men be looking at women thinking that this is a quality woman because she look good. Like, are you kidding me? Beauty resonates from the inside. If you get you a woman who's beautiful on the inside, you will never have to worry again as a man. Like, well, not on the end of your spouse. See, some men today, you can't even be comfortable in your walk with God. You can't even do what you need to do because your home life, your spouse, the person you picked was the wrong person, bro. Like, they're not a godly person. They don't have a good spirit. They don't have a clean spirit, a pure spirit. They don't have a inner light. Like, they don't even care about things that you care about. They don't even have inner values that you like, the same values that you have. But you married this woman off appearance because she was a beautiful woman. She looked good because she was able to, to put on she had some designer clothes on and Birkin bags and BBLs. You looked at nothing but appearance and you thought beauty was coming from the outside in. It don't work that way. As a matter of fact, the beauty can be a curse. Like vanity, that's nothing to the Lord. Like God's not looking. God ain't make these women beautiful on the outside and be like, and he hold that to some regard. He don't. That's what he created. Like everybody, because God looks at everyone as being beautiful. Do you think that God have a person who, we look at and be like, man, you ugly. Man, you are ugly. You are ugly this. You are ugly like the Predator. You one ugly mother effer. You understand? That type of stuff. Okay? Do you think God would look at somebody looking like somebody who traditionally don't look, Beetlejuice or whatever, and then look at Sierra or look at somebody, Michael B. Jordan or something like that? Do you think that God look at them any different? Do you think he look at Beetlejuice? Who does God see as more beautiful? A woman who looked like a woman who looked like the woman from Shrek, or Sierra or Ashanti? Who do you think God sees is more beautiful? And what I want you to keep in mind is that if you watch the movie Shrek, you'll understand the character of that woman. That green, I know she was green. I know it's a cartoon, but just try to assume what I'm saying. Assume that this is a woman who doesn't look. She don't have supermodel looks. She may be a little, thicker or chunkier, you know, or just don't have the fake body and all that. But she's a beautiful person on the inside. Then you have a woman who be looking like, she out here looking like Megan Fox, out here looking like, any woman you want to name, or Cardi B, whatever, and she has on the inside though, the woman's rotten. She's not a good person. Who do you think that God is looking at is more beautiful? See, and the woman who doesn't have those looks and all that fake stuff and all that, she has it better. And her time is better than that woman, because that woman looks is become a curse now. That woman looks is gonna curse her. Do you understand? Like back in the day, back in certain times, like if you looking real good now, you better get you a man, because there is gonna be guys, you know what I'm saying? There will be guys who would do bad things to women, rape them, just off their looks alone. Like, if you like, you would have to be protected for your looks. And then you also have, when your looks are gonna fade, you also have the fact that your looks are not gonna be like that forever. As soon as these women hit the wall and get old, it's nothing more disappointing to me than a woman who get old and continuously try to compete with the younger women. Because the younger women come in to take that spot, and you have these women continuously trying to compete, get these surgeries and preserve themselves, in the wrong type of ways. Instead of the preservation comes from God. God is the one who preserves women's beauty, and that inner beauty continues to feed you, and it resonates outward. When you just depend on your outward beauty as a woman, your inner self darkens. Your inner spirit darkens. That's why you got a lot of women out here becoming witches. They didn't abandon their man, they abandoned Jesus Christ himself. And that's sad. They all became vain, just vanity, just vain human beings. And again, vanity is of the devil. That's what, like, vanity comes to pride. Like, vanity begets pride. Satan himself became vain through his appearance. Do you understand? Satan had an appearance, like he was the angel that was more beautiful than all the rest. Shone brighter than all the rest. He was closer to God than the rest of the angels. God dressed him in all type of jewels and things like that. A beautiful angel. I mean, you just could imagine seeing Satan in heaven, and his vanity beget pride and things like that. Women, and it's a feminine trait. You understand? Like, Satan had started developing them feminine traits. That's why Satan loves homosexuality and things like that. But that's another story. But I want to leave you with this. This is in the book of Luke, chapter 23. And this is a verse. Let's start at verse 15. Well, no, let's start at verse 13. This is the book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 13. It says, the same day, Sunday, two of Jesus's followers were walking to the village of Emmaus, 7 miles out of Jerusalem. As they walked along, they were talking of Jesus's death. And suddenly Jesus himself came along and joined them and began walking beside them. But they did not recognize him, for God kept this from them. So Jesus is walking alongside them, but God is keeping his appearance hidden from them. You understand? Do you understand how powerful God is? God can take on different forms, just like angels and all that. God appeared to them, but kept it from them so they didn't recognize his appearance. Again, appearances, okay? On the surface level, their eyeballs, like he didn't appear as Jesus to them, okay? Like, as far as what they could recognize. Like, Jesus is walking with them, but they didn't recognize him. Like, kind of like disguising himself. But it said, you seem to be in deep discussion about something, he said. What are you so concerned about? They stopped short and sadness written across their faces. One of them, Cleopas, replied, You must be the only person in Jerusalem who hasn't heard about the terrible things that happened here last week. What things? Jesus asked. The things that happened to Jesus, the man of Nazareth, they said. He was a prophet who did incredible miracles and was a mighty teacher, highly regarded by both God and man. But the chief priests and our religious leaders arrested him, handed him over to the Roman government, condemned him to death, and they crucified him. We had thought that he was the glorious Messiah and that he had come to rescue Israel. And now, besides all this which happened here 3 days ago, some women from our group of followers were at his tomb early this morning, came back with an amazing report that his body was missing and that they had seen some angels there that told them Jesus is alive. But some of our men ran out to see, and sure enough, Jesus' body was gone, just as the women had said. And Jesus said to them, You are such foolish, foolish people. You find it so hard to believe what all the prophets wrote in the scriptures. Wasn't it clearly predicted that by the prophets, that the Messiah would have to suffer all these things before entering his time of glory? And then Jesus quoted them the passage after passage from the writings of the prophets, beginning with the book of Genesis and going right on through the scriptures, explaining what the passages meant and what they said about himself. So God is explaining, Jesus himself is explaining to his disciples there. He's explaining the whole Bible to them. He's giving them his inner knowledge. He's giving them the knowledge of what's on the inside of him. So what's inside Jesus is now showing out to the prophets. They began telling, and I said, by this time they were nearing Emmaus and the end of their journey. Jesus would have gone on, but they begged him to stay the night with them as it was getting late. So he went home with them, and they sat down to eat and asked God's blessing on the food. Then took a small loaf of bread and broke it and was passing it over them, when suddenly it was as though their eyes were open and they recognized him. And at that moment, he disappeared. They recognized Jesus at that time. But again, they began and this is in verse 32. Said they began telling each other how their hearts had felt strangely warm as he talked with them and explained the scriptures during their walk down the road. Again, it's the things that Jesus was saying, things that were coming, even though he was in disguise. It's the thing, like, you can sense the Spirit of God. They were able to finally sense who that was, but it was through the things that he was saying and what was the spirit that was in him. They didn't recognize him at first. And just as they were telling everybody about himself, about Jesus, Jesus himself was suddenly standing there among them, and he greeted them. But the whole group was terribly frightened, thinking they had saw a ghost. Jesus said, Why are you frightened? He asked, Why do you doubt that it is really I? Look at my hands, look at my feet. You can see that it is I. Touch me and make sure that I am not a ghost. For ghosts do not have bodies, and you see that I do. He spoke, held out his hands to them. They saw the marks of the nails. He showed them the wounds in his feet. Still, they stood there undecided, filled with joy and doubt. Then he asked them, Do you have anything here to eat? They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he ate it as they watched. Then he said, When I was with you before, do you remember my telling you everything that was written about me by Moses and the prophets and the Psalms and all that must come true? Then he opened their minds to understand these many scriptures. And he said, Yes, it was written long ago that the Messiah must suffer and die and rise again from the dead on the third day, and that this message of salvation should be taken to Jerusalem and from Jerusalem to all the nations. There is forgiveness of sins for all that turn to me. You have seen these prophecies come true. And now I will send the Holy Spirit upon you, just as my Father has promised. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, but you get the message wrapped up there that appearances don't matter at all. It's what's on the inside. So peace and blessings to the hearers and doers of the Lord's word. I am Super Solican, and this is The Awakening. Peace.